our lecture is Introduction to Parasitology. Definitions. First, we define parasite. Parasite, one animal deriving its sustenance from another without making compensation. The uncompensated animal is host. Parasitology, the science of study of host-parasite relationships. Medical parasitology, study of parasites which infect humans. Host, the parenter providing food and or protection. Some parasites require more than one host to complete their life cycle, or may not require a host during some stages. Definitive host. This slide types of hosts. Definitive host, the host in which sexual maturity and reproduction takes place. Intermediate host, the host in which the parasite undergoes essential development. Reservoir host or carrier host, the host harboring a parasite in nature, serving as a source of infection for other susceptible hosts. Reservoir hosts show no sign or symptoms of disease. Parasitonic host, an accidental host serving as a holding place for a parasite. Vector, as carrier of a parasite from one host to another, often an insect. Symbiosis, living together, a close association between two organisms. Mutualism, both organisms are benefited, bacteria and boil. Commensalism, eaten at the same table. One organism is benefited, the other is uninfected. Parasitism, one organism is benefited and the expense of another, the host. Parasites. We have some notes about parasites. A parasite is an organism that lives on or inside another organism to the detriment of the host organism. Traditionally, parasites refer to organisms with life stages that needed more than one host. So, parasitism a form of symbiosis in which one organism called parasite benefits at the expense of another organism, usually of different species, called host. Types of parasites. Parasites that live on the surface of the host are called ectoparasites. Example: lice, mites. Parasites that live inside the host are called endoparasites. Example: Giardia lambelia, Ascaris lumbricoid, etc. Parasites usually require more than one host for compilation of life cycle. Example: Plasmodium falciparum. So another types of parasites: obligate parasites. All or most of their life cycle are parasitic. Temporary parasites, parasitic for limited period for their feeding or reproduction. Facultative parasites, organisms are not parasitic for a limited period. Accidental parasites, normally free-living organisms, can survive within a host when they are accidentally taken. Introduction to basic parasitology. Parasites are eukaryotes. Two mature groups. Protozoa was unicellular, and metazoa elements, multicellular, called worms. Trophozoid or trough nourishment zone animal. Active mean active feeding stage of a protozoal parasite. Cyst, oocyst, inactive and infective form. Protozoa mortality via pseudopode, flagella, cilia, etc. And some protozoa non-motile. Introduction to basic parasitology. We have elements which called worms. Definitive host which harbor sexual phase or parasite. Intermediate host which harbor asexual phase of parasite. So we see parasitic protozoa, two main groups of parasites, and parasitic elements which multicellular. Protozoa have flagellates, amoeba, sporozoa, and ciliates. Flagellates have one or more web-like flagella. Example: Giardia lambelia. Trichomonas vaginalis. Amoeba use pseudopode or protoplasmic flow to move. Example: Entamoeba histolotica and Nicklaria fowleri. Sporozoa undergo a complex life cycle, alternating sexual and asexual phases. Example: Plasmodium species, Cryptosporidium species. Ciliates are complex protozoa bearing cilia. Example: Palantidium coli. Classification: Helminths. Helminths have nematoda, round worms, elongated, round and unsegmented, complete digestive system, highly developed separate sex, eggs and larvae suited for external environment. Most human infections ingestion of egg or larvae. Examples: ascars, lumbilicoid, and ankylostoma duodenale and enterobius vermicularis. This slide called us a successful parasite. A parasite is successful when it is in delicate balance with the host. If the balance is upset, the host may destroy or expel the parasite. If the host is overly damaged, it may die as well the parasite. Parasitology is important because this balance is not always maintained. Parasitic damage to host. This slide shows us what the parasite can do to the host. Trioma, damage to tissues, intestine, liver, eye. Lytic action, activity of enzymes elaborated by organism which parasites. Tissue response, localized inflammation, eosinophilia. Blood loss, heavy infection with hookworm may cause anemia. Secondary infections, weakened host susceptible to bacterial infection and etc. Modes of infection. This slide shows us the mode of infection by parasites. A foodborne or contaminative, where personal hygiene and community sanitation lacking. Infections stays remain available for long periods in contaminated soil. Soil or waterborne, water-borne. Water or dirt which can contain eggs, etc. Larvae can penetrate skin of bare feet or enter skin in infested water. Foodborne: inadequately cooked beef, pork, fish, shellfish. Arthropod-borne: the most difficult of all to control. Mosquitoes transmitting malaria, etc. Life cycle. Life cycle have direct life cycle, which only humans are the host. Infective stage like ovum, cyst, larva, passed out of body that infects healthy person. Example about direct life cycle: Entamoeba histolytica, Giardia, Ascaris lamberli, colds. Indirect life cycle have multiple hosts or environment of vector. Definitive host, intermediate host. Have definitive host and intermediate host. Example: Tinea saginata species and Schistosoma species, etc. Host parasite relation. Parasites utilize nutrition from host, resulting in damage, loss of nutrition. Example: iron deficiency, hookworm infestation, vitamin B12 deficiency in Diphyllobothrium latum. Morbidity due to tissue injury. Example: Entamoeba histolytica. Dysentery, severe itch due to Enterobius vermicularis. Mortality, fulminant diarrhea due to Cryptosporidium parvum infection, and hyperinfection due to Strongyloides stercolis in HIV. Rule of vector. What's the rule of vectors? Vector, a Latin word meaning carrier. IMP, important in transmission of parasite. No direct damage by vector. The Anopheles mosquito transmit malaria, filaria. Sandfly is vectors for leishmaniasis. Domestic cats, vector of Toxoplasma gondii, Echinococcus granulosus. The vector is cats and dogs. Common parasitic disease: amoebiasis, Entamoeba histolytica. The parasite cause amoebiasis. Giardiasis, caused by Giardia lambellae. Leishmaniasis, Leishmania donovani and Leishmania tropica. Malaria, caused by Plasmodium species. Falciparum, one of these species. Hookworm, Ankylostoma duodenal, roundworm, Ascaris lumbilicoid, echinococcus, Echinococcus granulosus, tapeworm, pinworm, Enterobius vermicularis, scabies, scarpets, scabi.